173 wins, 100 losses, 2 ties. That totals out to a 63% winning percentage. Add to that 1 Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowl appearances, playoff record 8-10, first 7 games, started off 5-2, and has been 3-8 since then. Steelers haven't won a playoff game in 7 years, but also haven't had a losing season under Tomlin's tenure. In fact, the Steelers have the second longest streak of going seasons without a losing record, dating back to 2004. If we go from 2004 all the way up to now, second longest streak of seasons without a losing record. You compare some of these Tomlin numbers to other Steeler great coaches, the big three, Chuck Noll and Bill Cowher, and Tomlin actually edges them out outside of Noll's 4 Super Bowls. Tomlin's regular season winning percentage higher than Chuck Noll's at 56%. Bill Cowher's was 62.3%. Again, Tomlin at 63. Mike Tomlin, Bill Cowher both have 1 Super Bowl win. Chuck Noll has the 4. So, yeah, we know the name of the game is winning the Super Bowls and winning the championships. So if you look at the total resume here of Mike Tomlin, is all of that worth a 3-year extension before going into the final year of his current contract? I think it's a great question, because I don't think it would have hurt for Art Rooney to let the season play out before giving Tomlin another contract, given how these last however many years have gone and haven't been up to snuff. At the same time, I'm also a believer that if you know who you want, leading this team, and you know who you want being the coach, why waste time? Let him know he's wanted and let him know he's valued and get the extension over with. And I think that's also a valid argument to me too. Because when we talked about firing Tomlin in the middle of last year, what did I say? And I'll say again, who are you getting that's guaranteed to be better? You might not be able to name 5 or 6 head coaches right now that you take over Mike Tomlin, at least for me. Reed is the only definitive. You could bring Sean McVay into the conversation. You could bring, now that he's back in the league, Jim Harbaugh into the conversation. But what other name you throwing in the mix? Maybe John Harbaugh, but I think Tomlin and John Harbaugh are in the same boat. They're both like top 5 or 6 coaches. Like, why would I replace one top 5 or 6 coach with another, or particularly our division rival? We know we don't like John Harbaugh like that here, but we know he's a damn good coach. Who's the definitive coaches we're taking over Tomlin? I think objectively he's in the top 5 of the current head coaches right now, of the current coach landscape. Objectively. Who are you definitively taking over him? Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I'd take him top 2, top 3. I think Reed's the only definitive name you can have over him. But he's got the quarterback. He's got Mahomes. Yeah, he's got Mahomes. How are we talking about Reed before he got Mahomes? Yeah, damn good coach. Probably borderline Hall of Famer. Doesn't have a championship to his name, but had a ton of success with the Eagles. Also had some success with the Chiefs. Got the Chiefs going on some playoff runs with an Alex Smith, but left a lot out there to be desired. He gets the quarterback. Now look at him. An all-time great. Like, I get it. These last 6-7 years haven't gone his plan. But how much of that is directly on Tomlin? And if you think about it, shouldn't some of the stuff that we're complaining about these last 6 or 7 years be looked at as a positive in Tomlin's direction? Like what he's had to deal with the roster and just some of the ups and downs that took place that he has no control over. Like Big Ben getting hurt in 2019, and we have that Duck Mason season. End up going 8-8, almost made the playoffs. At least we gave ourselves a chance to make it to the playoffs when we were sitting there in week 17. I believe we were playing, it was an 8-8 season. We were still playing 16 games at the time. Got us to 8-5 at one point. But you mean to tell me those 3 losses down the stretch. Is that on Tomlin? Is Duck throwing 4 picks in that Bills Sunday night game? Is that on Tomlin? Or does Duck just need to play better? Is Duck's poor play in the following week, that Jets game where he throws a couple picks, he needs to get benched. We put Mason in. Mason's looking good, ends up tying the game. We get to 10-10 rated, or 10-10 rated at halftime, tie the game up. And then Mason gets hurt. We have to throw Duck back in. Like, is that on Tomlin? Defense played pretty much lights out that whole year. But yeah, you had that season. You had 2022 and 2023. 2022 is supposed to be a rebuild mode with us grabbing a rookie quarterback, having Mitch playing here, picking him up in free agency. It's like we're in this gap year, rebuild mode. Let's see what Mitch can do to start off the season. Obviously, he was lackluster. We get Kenny in there. Things aren't looking too hot. 2-6 at the bye. End up finishing 9-8 in one of the hottest teams in the league to close out 2022. I think the league was lucky we didn't make the playoffs that year because we were humming. And then last year, finished 10-7 with a combination of Kenny, Mason, and Mitch at quarterback. Kenny not living up to what his second-year jump should have been. You got Mitch playing terrible, having some regression. And then Mason coming in those last 3 games playing really, really good. We ended up going 10-7. And also having Matt Canada at coordinator and firing him midseason. Still end up going 10-7. And that's part of the critiques too. Like, we can't just say, oh, it's all been good. It's all been Tomlin overcoming adversity. Like, there's critiques. Having Matt Canada as our offensive coordinator is on Tomlin. Like, that was his decision. Having Matt Canada be there for Ben's final season and making Matt Canada the priority and keeping him around over keeping Seth. Like, that's a big critique. I think it was a bad move. I was saying it at the time. The 2017 Jaguars game, if we want to go that far back, I don't think there was no reason to lose that game. No reason. I get we didn't have Shazier anymore, but with the talent we had on offense, the talent we still had on defense, and the Jaguars having Blake Bortles as their quarterback, and I don't even know if I can name a receiver that was on that team at the time. I don't think Allen Robinson was there. Was he? Maybe he was. We should have never lost that game. The Browns wild card abomination back in the COVID season. Yeah, that was terrible. Terrible. And then going back to the Canada stuff, like not making the best of staff hires in Canada. And maybe even personnel decisions. Us drafting Kendrick Green, putting him at center. List goes on and on. Devin Bush, keeping him out there maybe for too many steps than what he should have. So it's a mixed bag. These last 6 or 7 years have been a mixed bag. But just because it hasn't been great, does that mean we jump ship? No. We didn't with Cowher, nor did we with Noel when they had worse stretches in their coaching tenure. Worse stretches where they had actual losing seasons and some lackluster seasons connected together, combined. Why would we with Tomlin then? If we saw worse happen with Noel and Cowher over stretches and we didn't jump shit, why are we doing it with Tomlin? It wouldn't make sense to me because I think the dude still has 15 years of prime coaching left. And my point is, if you're betting on a guy, that's the past. These last 6-7 years in the past right now. From this point forward, if you're betting on a guy to lead this team to success, to get back to great, not just good, to get back to great, who are you going to bet on? Is it going to be Mike Tomlin, or is it going to be random coach who is available that we could hire? Because yeah, if you want to talk about an upgrade, who would you bet on being, Mike Tomlin versus an Andy Reid or Mike Tomlin versus Sean McVay? You can't do that. It's got to be Tomlin versus the guy that you're replacing him with, because we're not going to replace Tomlin with Andy Reid and Sean McVay. They already have jobs, and for good reason. They are damn good coaches. So Coach X becomes available, and it's versus Mike Tomlin. Who are you betting? I'll go Tomlin because he's objectively a good coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach. I think the course correction now, or the adjustment, is to get better, high-quality coaches. I think Tomlin made a mistake with Canada and some of these coaching staff hires, but Aren't people allowed to have mistakes and try to course correct and make adjustments? So get better coaches, which we have this offseason by hiring Arthur Smith, who is arguably the best offensive coordinator out there on the market. We got some of those new offensive position coaches too. And we also, to be honest with you, to be frank, like sometimes the simplest solution is just get the quarterback position right. I was talking about Andy Reid. He gets Mahomes. He's a lot better of a coach with Mahomes, no? Weren't the Steelers a lot better last year when Mason Rudolph was giving us quality quarterback play? Can Russ at least give us that? I think Tomlin would have looked a lot better if Mason was playing like he did for a full season. I think we would have been sitting at like 12-5 or 13-4 or something like that. Tomlin would have been a lot better of a coach, no? So can Russ do that? He should be able to. He really should. Can Arthur Smith be a better coordinator than what we had these last couple seasons in Matt Canada? Hell yeah. I mean, Mike Sullivan and Eddie Faulkner were better than Matt Canada, and they were pushed into the job mid-season out of nowhere. Faulkner never had any offensive coordinator experience. Mike Sullivan did way back in the day. Just out of nowhere, though. Yeah, they were better coordinators than Matt Canada. A combined coordinator of Mike Sullivan and Faulkner, co-coordinators. So you would like to think Arthur Smith could at least be better than Sullivan and Faulkner and obviously Matt Canada. Yeah, if I had to bet money, that's going to happen. So to me, I just want to hear everyone's grand solution for the next 4 seasons, because obviously the way I'm talking right now, I think this was a fine extension. This was a good move. I don't see any problems with it. What's everyone's grand solution for the next 4 seasons as opposed to sticking with Tomlin and giving him this extension? Because I feel like we have a good blueprint going on right now to get us back to glory. And don't undersell either the players loving to play for Tomlin and outside guys speaking openly about wanting to come to Pittsburgh because of Tomlin. Like, that matters. You don't think Tomlin being here didn't help sell Russ on becoming a Steeler? Justin Fields saying he wanted to come here even though he knew he was going to start off the offseason as the backup. What's one of the reasons he wanted to come here? What has he been saying? It's Coach T. Patrick Queen taking less than market value. And you even have Micah Parsons saying he wants to be a Cowboy for life, but if they couldn't see eye to eye on a contract, the one team he wants to play for outside of Dallas is the Steelers because of Coach T. So don't discount that factor. Mr. Rooney is not stupid. He knows the value Tomlin brings and how good of a coach he is. And yes, could he have waited this season out to see how everything goes with the new players and how Tomlin does in the last year of his contract? Yeah, I guess from a business standpoint, that does make sense. But how have the Steelers operated? Not only in my lifetime, but dating back to the 60s. Like, there's a loyalty factor. There's a like a family type atmosphere that they try to build. Like, it's built off relationships. So I also see why it's like, yeah, you've been here for what is it, 15? Is this coming up on 17 years for Tomlin? I could also see why Rooney says, like, you've been here for 17 years. I know you're a good coach. I know the value you bring. Like, let me show you that. Let's not let this get to a final season on the contract. No, I'm gonna want you around anyway. No matter what, let's get it taken care of. I think you're the right guy for the job. Like, I don't see anyone else doing better than what you're going to do over these next 4 years. Let's roll with Tomlin. Let's roll with you. That's where I'm putting my chips. That's where I'm making my bet. I see no problem with that because, again, Tomlin is a Hall of Fame coach. The floor is relevancy. Like the floor is at least relevancy. And we all know that's not good enough. We're not happy with these last 6-7 years, but you know you're at least getting that floor right now. And we've made the adjustments this offseason. I think we can get the good quarterback play. We can hopefully stay healthy on defense. We got the better coaching staff. Like, the blueprint's there. So why do we have to jump ship right now just because the past hasn't been as great as what we wanted. What's the solution? I think this is a fine solution. So let me know your thoughts on the Mike T extension, Coach T extension. I think it's a good move. I don't see any problems with it at all. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Stay chilling. Peace.